In this video, I'm going to be reading from The Wild Robot Escapes. And when we left off in chapter 78, Roz had just fallen off a very tall building in the city. And then the next chapter, chapter 79, is called The Designer. So she was being chased all through the city by those Recco robots. And here's this next chapter, The Designer. I'll read a couple chapters today, and I'll post another video for more chapters tomorrow and the next day. So just like when we do normal read aloud, if you want to color or just listen while I'm reading, it's up to you. Roz awoke slowly. She was surprised to be waking up at all. The fall from that building should have destroyed her, yet here she was. But where was she? Everything was dark and silent. Was this where robots go when they die? No, her systems were all activated, and then the real world came into focus. She saw white walls and floors, and she heard the hum of machinery in the background. Roz was somewhere inside the robot factory where she had been made. A pile of robot parts lay on the floor. The parts were all smashed and mangled. It took a moment for Roz to realize that she was looking at her own broken body. It took another moment for her to realize that she was now nothing more than just a robotic head. Her head was sitting on top of an electronic box that powered her computer brain. Roz still had her thoughts and her voice, but without a body, she couldn't move. So she just sat there, completely helpless, and she waited for the makers to appear. But the makers did not appear. Instead, Roz heard soft footsteps, and an old woman appeared. She was elegant, with white hair and red lipstick and black clothes. She had a flowery perfume that wafted behind her. Every detail about this woman was precise, except for her fingers, which were smudged in dark grease. "Welcome back, Roz," said the woman, wiping her hands on a rag. "I wasn't sure that I would get your computer brain working again. You took quite a spill out there. How do you feel?" Roz just stared. "You don't have to pretend anymore," said the woman. "I know that you're not a normal robot. Everyone knows. You made that perfectly clear when you led the Reccos on that wild goose chase throughout the city." Roz still remained silent. "I watched a video of that chase. I don't know how you got all those pigeons to attack our airships, but I'm more interested in the goose. You seem to be speaking with the goose. Can you explain this to me?" Roz at last said, "The goose is my son." "Is that so?" The woman arched an eyebrow. "Roz, I repaired your computer brain so I could talk with you. I want to know how you came to be this way. So let's talk. I'll begin by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Malova. A long time ago, I fell in love with computers and robots, and I created a company called Tech Lab Industries. And since then, millions of robots have been produced right here in this factory, and I've designed every single one of them. So, Roz, I've designed you." Chapter 80, The Beautiful Glitch. Deep inside the robot factory, Dr. Malova was sitting with Razum Unit 7134. Roz was now just a robotic head, but for the moment, her head was all she needed. The robot and the designer had many questions for each other, and they sat there for hours having conversations like these. "What happened to you on the island?" said Dr. Malova. "Tell me everything." So the robot told her everything. She described how she awoke on a rocky shore and how her only desire was to just survive, and how difficult life was in that harsh place. To survive in the wild, I had to become wild, said Roz. So I studied the wild animals. I mimicked their behavior. What do you think mimic means? Copy, something like that. And eventually, I learned to speak the animal language. Incredible, said Dr. Malovo. You're programmed to learn different languages and you're programmed to work with animals, but I never imagined that you'd be able to speak with animals. Although I could speak to the animals, they still did not trust me, said Roz. So I tried to win them over with kindness. Animals ran from me and laughed at me and attacked me. I always responded in kindness. It was a good strategy, and I thought that would be my key to survival. But the real key to my survival came in the form of a gosling. When I adopted Brightbill, everything changed. I was finally accepted by the animals, and I was surrounded by family and friends. I was home. There's another conversation. Am I the only wild robot? Asked Roz. I don't know, said Dr. Malovo. Many defective robots have been returned over the years. It's possible some were like you until we destroyed them. Will you destroy me? The woman sighed. Roz, people are afraid of you. They saw you running through the city and they think you're dangerous. They want to know that the danger is gone. And so, when we're finished speaking, yes, I'll have to destroy you. But I am not dangerous, said Roz. That part of my programming has never failed. Even if I wanted to be violent, I could never be violent. Have you ever wanted to be violent? No. Every problem has a peaceful solution. Violence is unnecessary. I wish it were that simple, said Dr. Malovo. It's an amazing time to be alive, but there still is crime, there still are wars, and sometimes violence is unavoidable. Is that why you have the Recos? The Recos are designed to do all sorts of unpleasant jobs. Some of those jobs require the use of force. Do you worry that they might use force against you? The Recos have never given me a single reason to worry, said Dr. Malovo. But you have, Roz. How did you escape from Hilltop Farm? Asked Dr. Malovo, leaning forward. Roz didn't answer. Let me guess, said the doctor. The children helped. Roz just stared. They're not in any trouble. If I were them, I would have helped you too. They are good children, Roz said finally. And yet you left them, said Dr. Malovo. Living was not easy. I care about everyone on Hilltop Farm, and I did my best to look after them all, but I did not belong there. And when the children discovered who I really was, they agreed with me. They wanted me to go home, and they helped me escape. Why do I fear water? Why am I female? Why was my body designed this way? Why does my computer brain know some things and not other things? Why? Dr. Malovo laughed. Why do you need all these answers? Well, doctor, you programmed me to learn, and I am simply trying to learn about myself. The woman shifted in her seat. Roz, those questions are more complicated than you realize. There are countless little considerations that go into designing any robot. I have to determine the robot's size and strength and appearance. I have to give the robot the proper programming and computer brain. I have to predict how people will react to the robot. I have to imagine everything that could possibly go wrong, but all of my decisions are guided by a single question. What is the robot's purpose? Quietly, Roz asked the designer, what is my purpose? I'm sorry to disappoint you, Roz. You don't have some grand purpose. Like all other ROSM units, you were designed to work for humans, and that's it. The robot thought for a moment, and then she said, I once suggested to a group of wild animals that my purpose might simply to just be to help others. The designer thought for a moment, and then she said, well, when you put it that way, your purpose does sound rather grand, doesn't it? How would you feel if someone said you could never go home to your family? Asked Roz to Dr. Malovo. Dr. Malovo smirked. Oh, nobody would ever say that to me. I've spent my whole life creating robots, and I never had the time for a family. But you created me. So in a way, I am your child and you are my mother. I am not your mother, said Dr. Malovo flatly. I am not your mother, repeated Roz. Those were actually my first words to Brightbill, but I was wrong. Roland stroked her chin. Up on the rooftop before you fell, what were your very last words to Brightbill? I told him that I loved him. How do you know that your feelings are real? Said the woman. Well, how do you know your feelings are real? Said the robot. Your brain might be defective, said Dr. Malovo, but it certainly is fascinating. I did not choose to be this way, said Roz, but this is who I am. You would be wild too if you had been born and raised in the wilderness. Maybe I am defective. Maybe everything I have experienced is the result of a glitch. But if so, what a beautiful glitch. I have my own thoughts, my own feelings. I made a life for myself. I have a son, and Brightbill is somewhere out there right now, wondering if he will ever see his mother again. Dr. Malovo, you do not have to destroy me. You can fix me, and I will return to my island, and then this city will never see me again. I promise. I just want to go home. Please help me, doctor. There were tears in Dr. Malovo's eyes. The old woman had heard enough. Without a word, she reached behind Roz's head and clicked the button. Click. The next chapter, which I'll read tomorrow, is called The Meltdown.